Row 18, plot 20.
Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. Today I'm going to talk about a movie I just watched called Tinnitus or Tinnitus. It's listed as a 2022 film on IMDb. It's a drama, horror, and it's also tagged as a sport movie. I'll explain why in a second. When I saw that tag, I was like, that's confusing, but then it made sense with the movie. It also has romance as a tag, and that's interesting as well. This movie was filmed in Brazil. It was otherwise known as The Shark Boy, which makes no sense to me whatsoever after having seen this movie. And maybe if somebody knows what that title references in the movie, let me know. This is a movie that you have to watch and read subtitles to get. There are a lot of things going on that you kind of have to be watching. Like, you can't just pop this on and watch most of it and then turn away and just kind of be listening while you're doing the dishes or whatever. It gets a 6.4 star rating on IMDb, but it doesn't even have 100 reviews yet. So the director is Gregorio Graziosi. Writers are Marco Dutra, Gregorio Graziosi, Andres Vera. I practiced these before I started filming so I could try to sound like I knew what I was talking about. This movie is about Marina. She is an ex-diver who is suffering from terrible buzzing in her ears. After an accident suffered at the last Olympics, she decides to go back to competing in hopes of winning an Olympic medal by putting her life to risk. That is a very badly worded and not a really good, like, it makes it sound like Marina at the beginning of the movie is an ex-diver, but she's not, because the diving accident that they're talking about happens during the movie. Marina is played by Joana de Verona. One of her significant others, Dr. Santos, was played by Andre Gregorio, and Teresa Colts is played by Ali Willow, and let me see. I'm only going to name off the Indira Nascimento plays Luisa Nascimento. So she uses her own. They kept her last name, her character last name. Um, so this is a foreign film. It's TV-14. It seemed to me to have a couple of very aggressive sex scenes, but they're very brief and there's no nudity, so I guess it didn't get an R rating for those. Um, but there is a boy girl aggressive sex scene and there's kind of like two of them, and but they were very brief. They didn't have the normal length of time that a lot of foreign films kind of have. Like, they're kind of shot artsy and they're very whatever, but they were very aggressive. Not rape, but like just aggressive passion. And then there's girl on girl, where that happens, and then there's a suggested sex scene as well. So, yeah. So Marina, there, her and let me see my notes here. Teresa are team competitive divers for the Olympics. The stadium that they keep using in Brazil was a little bit of green screen. You could kind of tell it doesn't take away from anything. I thought I would write that down. Um, so yeah, Marina has this accident, starts causing her to have tinnitus. That's how I pronounce it. I actually have tinnitus. I have tinnitus on a very high scale, so I have multiple high pitched it's referred to as ringing, but it's not ringing like a phone rings. It's a constant flat line of high pitch, and I have multiple tones in each ear. Um, what they're experiencing in this movie sounds like something else, but tinnitus is probably like the parent title for, I'm sure there's subgenres of tinnitus. So she's not able to compete anymore. So her partner, Teresa, ends up getting a new partner, Luisa. And Luisa is a little scheming troublemaker and a little horn dog. She's trying to get with everybody. She does. She basically gets with everybody. But again, it's always very brief, and there's no nudity in those scenes. There once we're exposed to Marina's hearing issues, it becomes a lot of auditory psychedelic effects is how I just decided to describe it. So where in like the most recent movie that had a lot of like visual kind of psychedelic effects was Infinity Pool. And so if you took that visual and then made it audible, that's kind of what goes on with this. And it works pretty good, but there's a lot of different sounds going on. And what ended up happening for me personally, because I have tinnitus, there were times that I couldn't tell if it was the sound from the movie or from my ears, and I would stop it and go back, re-listen to it, and I'd be like, okay, that's in the movie, not in my own head. If you don't have tinnitus, it's not going to be an issue for you. I'm not even saying that that's a negative part of the movie. It's just something that's interesting. There are a few scenes where she's going to like a group therapy. She's involved with a doctor who she's partner with, who also happens to be an ear doctor, and also running this therapy group. And they make a point when they're showing these scenes to focus on one character who describes the sounds that he is hearing and how he's interpreting what's going on. That kind of leads us to believe like maybe he's crazy or whatever. And that's to build up the idea that the problem of the tinnitus will eventually drive someone to a point where they're kind of losing touch with reality, losing focus, and interpreting the sounds that they're hearing as things that they're not. They're kind of like audible hallucinations, if that makes sense. I hope I'm getting that across. So the movie progresses. Teresa has her new partner for the swimming, Luisa, and then Teresa gets an injury, so Marina decides to go try to be back into the Olympics, and that's what that synopsis meant. And then other people start experiencing the tinnitus, and so then you're kind of left, well, is that something that's not being detected by the doctors, and it's jumping from one person to the other, and that's your own mind kind of drifting into potential storylines. But it's not. But it becomes a very psychological drama where it's based on all these relationships and the pain that Marina is going through because she's dealing with the tinnitus, and then also another character that ends up having it. We start kind of experiencing their pain as well, and then we see the lengths that Marina ends up going to try to quiet that noise. And so if you have the time to kind of like read some subtitles and be paying attention to the sounds, and there's a lot of like artsy stuff foreign films like this tend to do like a lot of visual things that are symbolic of bigger things. Like there's scenes in museums where they focus in on one certain piece of art or one statue, and people that are smarter than me understand that, oh, they just showed that because that's the god of hearing or whatever, or that's a painting of somebody that threw a lightning bolt into somebody's ear in the God Wars or something. But I'm not smart enough to know that, but I'm sure there's a lot of that in here because they do that. There's a lot of there's some other sideline interesting characters as well that I haven't mentioned because I'm trying to stay spoiler free. I know it seems like I gave away a lot of the story, but I really didn't. So it's just one of those movies you have to sit and just visually take in and listen to, and then just get through it. If anyone has seen it, let me know. Or if you're interested in this, let me know. Or if you have tinnitus, that'd be cool. We could bond over that. William Shatner, Captain Kirk, the OG Kirk, he has tinnitus. But that's going to do it for this review. Thanks. Have a great day.